There are a few core tenets that I would follow if I was lucky enough to be appointed as supervisor. Transparency in communications with the residents I serve, fiscal responsibility to keep property taxes low, and to maintain the rural character of Upper Frederick. This is the reason my wife and I moved here. It's a reason why many of us choose to live here. And though it should not have to be said out loud, it should be assumed I would follow the guidelines for that avoid any ethical pitfalls. If appointed as supervisor, I would never vote to appoint a current township employee as a supervisor. I would never vote to appoint a vendor or a service provider of the township as supervisor. Supervisors and staff should avoid any conflict of interest or the appearance of any conflict of interest at all costs. Last month, Upper Frederick Township received some publicity. Unfortunately, it was not the publicity that we were proud of. On January 18th, a 23-page document, the PA Department of Ethics issued a rear judgment citing a previous township supervisor for self-dealing to enrich himself by selling personal equipment to the township for thousands of dollars over fair market value. This is an embarrassment, this is unacceptable, and this would be less likely to happen if meetings were more accessible to residents. As part of the former supervisor's settlements of his ethics violation, he has agreed to pay back $5,000 to the Upper Frederick Township taxpayers. If appointed as supervisor, I would use that unbudgeted $5,000 settlement to purchase the necessary equipment to film meetings so they can be watched by all residents on demand, unedited. Had this been in place, the residents would also have noticed that this supervisor had not shown up for a meeting in 7 months in a row, although he still collected the supervisor's salary over that time period. From the meeting minutes I've read, and from what I've seen in the last few meetings, I think most residents would agree that the board lacks transparency and does not make enough effort to keep the residents it serves informed. This is not about Republicans or Democrats or independents. This is about having a transparent local government that serves the residents, not only a select few through the buddy system. I really doubt that you will appoint me, not because I'm not extremely qualified, but because I don't think you're willing to have a truly independent person on the board who will simply fall in the line and keep the status quo. But if you are looking for fresh blood, as you said earlier, if you are looking for somebody who has several years of direct experience being a supervisor and is willing to serve all residents and has no conflict of interest, I'm ready to take the position. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Les. You said everything that I said along the campaign trail in 2021, and I appreciate that. And that's why you endorsed me as your candidate. Because as I came around in this community, I saw all these deficiencies from the word go. And I knocked on every single one of your doors telling you that this was coming. These developments, the sewage, the nepotism that came along with it, and I brought that to you. I brought it to you guys as well. I'm not angry with you. Ron, as you know, at the polls in November, I shook your hand at the door down there. Sean, you the same thing. I have no hard feelings for you, nor Billy Trey. I didn't make that run to harm Billy. I made that run because Mr. Carafa came and asked me to come and serve my community. I did this in Bucks County, got a little political down there, running for the school board, and down there it's cutthroat. Up here, I didn't think it would be nowhere near like that. But we seem to have surprised some big city folks for our little town. But I do want to thank you for this opportunity to interview for this position as well. So the duties that are, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to address the 7 questions, Ms. Tracy, that you had sent me. And the duties of a supervisor are listed on our webpage. Talk about enacting laws, ordinances, and making decisions for land use, development plans, budgeting, spending, hiring, and unfortunately firing people. okay? Those decisions I don't take lightly. My previous work experiences qualified me to perform these duties and have been submitted along with my letter of intent. More importantly, my responsibilities as a supervisor are not what's not included on our website. I have a responsibility to be the voice of the residents living in this town. I need to be a decision maker who does so without bias, but rather with honesty and integrity. It's my responsibility to see both sides of the debate and to be fair and unbiased so that my vote is made free of ulterior motive or conflicts of interest. The reasons I want to be on the board have not changed since running for this seat in 2021. As I have said before, I want to stop perceived wasteful spending, put my community first, while bringing some transparency to my township. So as Les had brought up about the publicized meetings, that's day one of Mr. Croft and I running in this town. I've been saying that. We're a Class 2 township here, and we could bring in a TV station. As Les said, about 24-hour notice. Miss Kate wasn't able to be here for, she had her son's birthday, so she couldn't be here one day. Totally understandable. I got 2 kids of my own, so I got it. But I do want to bring that level of transparency here. It's something that I think as we went along, we just didn't see that. I don't blame you guys. I understand that. I heard along the way, you're the only guys who care. Talking about the fire department. Everybody wanted to paint me as anti-EMS. And as I told everybody, I'm anti-BS. And what I wanted to bring to the table was the transparency. And that's what I'm saying to you again today, Ron. I have no hard feelings for you guys. If I sit there, I'm a voice for every single person in this room. Every single person I met, that's independent, Republican, Democrat. It didn't matter to me. And that's why I got votes from both sides. So I knew Mr. Trey didn't have the ability to finish this time, and I have brought that up to you, Sean, and spoke to you in a telephone conversation about it, not to, slam you.
When was that?
Right before our meeting on 29th at the Country Chef with you, Pat, and Billy himself. So the reasons for this run, they haven't changed. But I see a lot of some residents here today that I spoke to and I listened to them when they said they didn't want any more of these big developments coming in. They didn't want sewer plants coming in. And they surely didn't want public water coming in. But when we drill these 2 big wells on these THP properties, we all know what's coming. It happened at my property. We took the water out from underneath my house, and the previous owner had to get a whole new well drilled. That's going to come to these fellows. But it was denied during the last election by everybody. These things aren't coming. But we all knew. In July, Ron, you yourself said you wanted to get this up and running, this municipal authority, and staff it. Because Tim Hendricks was sitting in that room. What bothered me about it, Ron, was that we deceived these people. And I told everybody, I'll never do that to you. I brought it to your doorstep and I'll do it again. Again, I'm not doing this to harbor ill will towards you or make you feel any way towards me. I'm just explaining to you, I said these things in 2021 because I knew they were coming. So my past life and employment experiences make me the person I am today. The knowledge that I've obtained through my work is what qualifies me for this supervisor role. I don't have time to discuss all of the points, but I can tell you that having worked for the Pentagon and the IRS building, I had to undergo scrutiny from the federal government to obtain clearance. This point alone should exemplify me as a person with a clean background and trustworthy persona. If the federal government has cleared me to work inside of such high security areas, I can be trusted by the work in and for our township and the people who reside here. If Fortune 500 companies trusted me to come in and do projects from 1 to 35 store rollouts, managing all of their employees, managing all their managers, working with their financial analysts so they can identify their revenue, their taxes, but most importantly, their waste. I helped them identify that and resolve waste issues. While flying around North America and abroad, I met people from all over the world. I was able to get along with people from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the Bible Belt to the Rust Belt, in and outside of this country as well. The vacancy is for 11 months. To serve out this remaining term, I need to be elected by the residents of this township. I was committed when I ran in 2021 where I lost by 10 votes. I'm the only candidate here today that's got 1 vote. but I had the support of another gentleman who's also running for this. I would have had your support too, Sean, I believe that, if you would have sat and listened to me at Ortino's down there. I really believe that. I reached out to my core voters and found out I still carry this township support. My interest to be on this board has not faded either. I fully intended to run for this position again in the next upcoming election, hoping that considering current events, I could flip those 10 votes that made me runner-up to capture the seat for an additional 4 years. With my ties stretching to this community coming back to the 80s, I, for the last decade, have owned and operated a farm off of Faust Road, and I moved my family to this town because I wanted to raise my children here and teach them the meaning of hard work in a place that I came to as a kid, buying cattle from Zern's Market or Perkiomen Auction. Most people in this room probably don't even know they used to sell cattle at those places. But I came here as a child. I fished these waters. I hunted these lands. I am part of Upper Frederick. I've regularly attended meetings, as both of you guys know, and it's been documented on our website. Mr. Potosic's there. When I did not attend, I would review the videos if they were taped, and I would be vocal about my thoughts and opinions. Ron, as I stated, I had civil conversations with you down at the polls. Clearly, I don't harbor any ill will towards you. You may not like me, is what I'll say, but what you can assure is that I have this township's best interest at heart when I come here every single time. And I think you know my dedication here. I don't want this position based on popularity, but rather because I deserve it. I'm willing to work hard and improve that by walking around our town, touching 3,300 doors, talking to people, making friends along the way. As a past EMS volunteer and a gentleman who just recently volunteered with my church as a disaster relief liaison, I worked with multi-state agencies, supplying food and goods and coordinating with local government officials to get food, clothing, and supplies to the residents in Kentucky, working hand in hand with their fire company as well. And I think everybody knows about the fire in Perk Crossing, and Mrs. Change has how she felt about me coming in her house here while it was on fire. I think I've demonstrated that I'm here for everybody inside this town, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or a Democratic leader or a Republican leader. I'm here for everybody. So I think I appreciate your time, and that's just what I have to say to y'all. Thank you.
Ed.
I think I'm unqualified.
No one's unqualified.
So my name is Ed Myers. My wife and I built a house in 1982 on 3453 Big Road across from Kraus Road. Yeah, we appreciate the ruralness of this township, and when you drive around, and especially Limerick, and you go up to Gilbertsville and Harleysville, and we're in the middle, and there's a lot of open space. So my concern was, that the growth, and so I want to serve to see if there's any way we can slow down that growth. And hearing all these other issues, I really wonder if I am qualified, because it sounds like there's serious problems that need to be addressed. I do have environmental backgrounds, and I was thinking, there's 10 million dead ash trees in this state. There's lanternfly, there's woolly adelgia attacking the hemlocks, there's canker that's killing the oaks. There's a lot of environmental issues, and I would come at those problems, we could do it at a local level, and I do volunteer at the watershed. I put a lot of time in there. So, I love it here, and I would, knowing the people on Kraus Road as well as I do, our kids all went to school together and went to college, and so I can speak for that group, and listening to the people here, that we want to maintain our rural status. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Trojansky. I live on Township Line Road. I've been a member, or actually a resident of Upper Frederick Township since 2008, so almost 15 years. Sounds like you have a good group of candidates here. So my interest has been, I ran last time, or attempted to run last time when the position was open, but that, was bypassed on that, which is not a problem. I am not here to say that I am the best candidate. I can tell you that through my past history running an organization and running businesses from the top down, I don't know if there is a lot of nepotism. I've heard remarks, nepotism, no transparency. I can only tell you that if I am afforded the position, when it comes to running the township, my backbone is built on integrity and fairness across the board. I think that there's some things that are, from what I understand, people are at a dislike in this township, number one being this THP property bill. Do I know the roles of what a township supervisor should do? I'm versed on them. I wouldn't say that I'm the best on it. Maybe there are some candidates here that are, but in my background, I have taken companies that have been in the red and brought them into the clear. I don't know if we're talking a fiduciary responsibility with this township, or if we are talking about parks and recs, roads, the welfare, the health and safety of the community, which should be first. But I think the biggest goal that any supervisor should attain is that, and I'm sorry I don't have a piece of paper, I like to speak extemporaneously, but I think the biggest goal that anybody as a leader, which a supervisor for a township or a boss or a CEO of a company or a manager should do is get input from the people that work for you or underneath you and who you are representing. So I can only tell you that I'm not going to say that there's issues or problems. I'm not going to bring them up, whether we've had conversations, none of that. If I am elected onto the board, I can tell you from day one, it'll be integrity and fairness across the board with the input of the residents of this community. They are the people, and you are the people that have lived here. I live in this township also. I like open area, but fairness is across the board. If somebody is coming in here to build, they have a legal right too, whether it's a farm, whether it's a piece of property. So you have to give everybody fairness across the board, and that's how I operate. The only thing I can say is that if given the opportunity, I will definitely support the township. I do not plan on leaving Upper Frederick Township, and I will support the township by listening to the residents before we make decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So, questions, comments. Let's do this, I don't know, should we do this by questions and comments by candidate, or just have people just come up and make general statements? What do you think?
Generals, I mean, whatever
Okay.
they want.
Whatever they
Just,
got on their mind,
You
okay.
know, if
I
you
have
got
comments
comments
for all
for,
four.
if you wanna
Do
come
you
up
want
to
to
the
go
point.
first?
Let her go first. In no particular order. All right, so Mr. Trojansky.
Yes, ma'am.
The one thing I didn't hear you say is that you are actually the chief of the Plymouth Community Ambulance,
Correct.
is that correct? Okay, so you're responsible for all of this town, sole responsibility?
13 townships, ma'am.
Okay, your ambulance is the second busiest,
I'm
and you
sorry, I'm
handle,
the first busiest in Montgomery County.
you're now the first, okay. The article I read said second.
It's an old article. We've been the top EMS provider for Montgomery County since 2012.
Okay.
16,000 calls a year now.
Okay, I did read one article, because you have quite the digital fingerprint.
Yep.
One article, you stated that you did 40 calls in 24 hours.
Correct.
You also sit on the board of directors for that ambulance company. You're listed as a defendant in multiple court cases, including discrimination, retaliatory firing. So I'm just curious how you are going to have the time to dedicate to the position and to the town residents. And then also, if you feel that your position as chief is a conflict, since the percentage of our taxes goes to your ambulance service, yet you also bill for these services.
Correct, ma'am.
So those are my questions.
So the questions regarding any type of lawsuits, as a boss, I have been sued numerous times. It's in the public, and none of them came through, how can I say, have come through as we were in the wrong
Okay.
organization.
That's great to hear.
Of course it is, right? This is my integrity. Your second question was?
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. I don't see how a board placement would be a conflict of interest as a chief of an organization.
Well, we have money in our budget that goes to you. Matter of fact, in the 2023 budget, there's a $5,000 payment that gets paid out to 2 different ambulance corps that are no longer in existence.
So if you did, and I'm not here to start an argument.
No,
ma'am.
no,
I'm here to
please.
run for a position, and if
That's
this is
fine.
an attack, that's fine.
No, I'm just asking questions based on
So
the homework that I
if you
did.
if you were more aware of what happens with EMS, and this has nothing to do with the supervisor role now, because it seems like you are addressing Plymouth Community Ambulance Association.
Which you are the chief of, correct?
Correct, absolutely, 100%. And we can make it known on the TV, on whoever. Your ambulance organization that you had covering half year couldn't respond to your residents in this township because they were never staffed. Plymouth Community Ambulance is staffed 24 hours, 7 days a week.
That's
You get
great.
the best coverage here.
Will we get that good coverage if we get this high-density housing? Or do you stand to make more money off of
Just so
that?
you're aware, the township last year, I think, paid out $11,000 to Plymouth Community Ambulance, which we use in 1 month of fuel. It's over $600,000 to run an ALS truck. $600,000. So you tell me if you think we can run it, and we are doing it.
I do
So if you
think
want
you
to
can
talk
run
more
it.
about Plymouth Community Ambulance, we can do that at a different time.
That's fine, because I do have financial records and,
Good, you can get them, it's a
Yep.
nonprofit organization.
absolutely, it's all public information.
Absolutely,
Okay, well, thank you very much.
sure. Feel free to call, you can stop down at Plymouth Community Ambulance anytime, just as anybody else in here can.
Yep, I do appreciate that.
Wonderful.
Mr. Landman, so as you know, I've never paid close attention to the township decisions. I just started paying attention after I saw the article about my neighbor. So I did all this research. So in 2015, there were 9 votes for the supervisor position. But in 2021, that number increased to 1,030 votes. Can you tell me why you think that happened? Why is there such an increase in the voting?
Simple answer is I paid all them people to come out. No. I'm kidding. No. I'm not sure about 2015. Were you here then? Why was the number so low then?
Are you speaking for supervisor?
I am speaking for the supervisor